This generated video simulation shows a slow-moving, high-viscosity substance creeping through a muscular, tubular structure. This is a mechanical representation of the human gastrointestinal tract, a 21-foot continuous pipeline highly susceptible to internal friction and flow stasis. The assumption that impacted fecal matter is biologically inert while trapped in the colon is a physiological miscalculation. Retained chyme, the semi-fluid mass of partly digested food, undergoes active putrefaction when stalled. As it rots over several days, it releases metabolic byproducts and highly reactive systemic toxins. This animated diagram shows the exact point of structural failure. The static matter emits toxins that breach the mucosal barrier, the protective cellular lining of your intestines, and diffuse directly into the adjacent bloodstream. Once in the blood, this active toxin release triggers severe downstream systemic cascades. The fallout manifests as irritable bowel syndrome, gastric ulcers, and intense dermatological inflammation. Chronic constipation is an acute autonomic warning signal. It indicates a systemic failure in your mechanical and lifestyle inputs, resulting in internal toxicity. A rising professional misconception suggests chronic stasis is a chemical deficiency that can be treated with over-the-counter laxative powders or tablets. These chemicals create severe physiological dependency. Their artificial stimulation overrides the enteric nervous system, effectively hijacking the gut's natural neural signaling. This animated diagram demonstrates the cost of that chemical override. On the left, a healthy muscle fiber maintains its own rhythmic pulsing contractions. On the right, the fiber slowly atrophies as it is bombarded by external chemical triggers. Relying on these external prompts degrades the intrinsic tonus and contractility of the intestinal smooth muscle. Repairing this structural damage requires abandoning pharmaceutical crutches entirely. You must restore the gut's natural motility, its mechanical ability to move food through the pipeline on its own. Achieving this relies on a strict 24-hour chronobiological protocol. This routine optimizes thermal, physical, and circadian inputs to align with your body's biological rhythms. Fixing gut health requires treating the GI tract as a mechanical engine. It must be systematically calibrated rather than chemically forced. The protocol begins with the parasympathetic awakening. During deep sleep, intestinal muscles naturally relax, priming the body for morning evacuation as soon as you wake up. Reaching for a smartphone immediately upon waking introduces a severe neurochemical disruption to this primed state. The acute digital stimulation induces sudden cortisol spikes. Cortisol, a primary stress hormone, signals the enteric nervous system to immediately halt the evacuation process. To initiate flow instead, apply the morning thermal solvent protocol. Drink 500 milliliters of warm water that has been stored overnight in a copper vessel, a practice known in Ayurveda as tamrajal. This utilizes a specific dual mechanism. The heat acts as an active solvent to decrease the viscosity of impacted colonic matter, while the copper infusion provides baseline antibacterial properties. A physical follow-up is mandatory. Engage in 1 to 2 minutes of empty-handed ambulation to mechanically trigger peristalsis, the involuntary wave-like muscle contractions that push contents through your digestive tract. While walking, apply clockwise manual pressure to your abdomen using your right hand. Shifting your body weight to your left leg will further increase direct structural pressure on the descending colon. This animated diagram highlights the necessity of correct anorectal angulation. Sitting at a standard 90-degree angle creates a kink in the canal, restricting mechanical flow. Squatting at a 35-degree angle, the traditional Malasana posture, aligns the geometry to reveal a perfectly straightened rectal canal. You can achieve this using a footstool and a forward lean on a Western toilet. In cases of severe stasis, an emergency intervention of Terminalia chebula, or choti harad, combined with psyllium husk can be used. This combination forces immediate motility, but it must be limited to a maximum of 3 days to prevent muscle dependency. Successful morning evacuation is a highly orchestrated biomechanical event. It requires specific posture, temperature, and autonomic relaxation, rather than passively waiting for an urge. By daytime, the focus shifts to the morning lubrication protocol. Before breakfast, consume a decoction of boiled fennel seeds mixed with 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of desi ghee or virgin coconut oil. The biomechanical purpose of this lipid addition is friction reduction. The fats actively coat the mucosal lining of the entire 21-foot tract, lowering the transit friction coefficient for your subsequent meals. As you consume your breakfast, commit to extended mastication. Chewing your food slowly for 15 to 20 minutes enzymatically pre-digests the materials before they ever reach the stomach. You must explicitly avoid processed, fiberless, refined flour, commonly known as maida. Without a fiber matrix, refined flour acts structurally as an intestinal adhesive. It sticks stubbornly to the gut wall, highly resistant to forward movement. To counteract stagnation, introduce a dual fiber matrix, found abundantly in grains like oats or dahlia. This animated diagram shows a microscopic breakdown of the two required fiber types. The first is soluble fiber. As it moves, it acts like a sponge, increasing fecal volume by drawing in ambient water from the surrounding tissues. The second is insoluble fiber. It provides the rigid structural bulk necessary to act as a sweeping mechanism, accelerating transit velocity through the colon. Optimize your lunch by incorporating high-fiber grains like millets or jowar, alongside seasonal vegetables like gourds and spinach. Pair this with a glass of buttermilk to neutralize excessive gastric heat. Daytime dietary choices are an engineering exercise. The objective is to optimize the rheology, the flow state and deformation of matter, and the structural integrity of your intestinal chyme. After your meal, adhere to a strict hydration timing rule. Wait exactly 1 to 2 hours before consuming bulk water. The immediate post-meal hunger you might feel is a physiological misunderstanding. It is a false neurological signal triggered by systemic dehydration, rather than an actual caloric deficit. Counter this by purposefully consuming 2 glasses of water during this delayed window. This systematically softens the developing stool mass. By late afternoon, initiate the 5 p.m. fruit protocol. Prioritize antioxidant-rich, high-fiber fruits such as pear, guava, apple, and papaya. The most crucial element here is the fig, or anjir, protocol. Soak 5 to 6 figs in water for 4 to 5 hours prior to consumption. Look at this macroscopic cross-section of a soaked fig. Consuming both the swollen fruit and its residual soaking water maximizes your intake of dense mucilage, a thick, gelatinous plant glycoprotein that heavily lubricates the intestinal tract. The delayed timing of liquids, combined with the introduction of this water-dense mucilage, ensures constant osmotic pressure in the lower intestine throughout the afternoon. As evening approaches, apply the circadian fasting rule. Evening meals must be highly digestible, such as clear soups or simple dal rice, and strictly concluded by 7 p.m. This animated diagram tracks the biological clock mechanism. By ceasing food intake early, you guarantee that active gastric emptying finishes by 2 a.m., allowing the body to enter a state of cellular detoxification. Late-night eating forces food to remain static in the gut overnight. This disrupts the 2 a.m. detox phase entirely and triggers acidic fermentation of the trapped matter. To periodically clear out chronic metabolic backlogs, implement an occasional 24-hour liquid or fruit fast. This effectively empties all traffic on the highway of your GI tract. Following your light dinner, perform evening ambulation. A 3 to 4 kilometer walk manually activates the intestinal smooth muscle before sleep. Completing this walk in an open space actively downregulates psychological stress. This optimizes the gut-brain axis, the bidirectional biochemical signaling between your central and enteric nervous systems, setting up optimal nocturnal recovery. Finally, apply the pre-sleep lubrication protocol. Drink half a glass of warm milk, preferably boiled with fennel, ginger, and green cardamom. While often cited as a cause of stasis, warm milk acts as a vital, mild laxative for non-lactose intolerant individuals. These evening protocols are singularly designed to completely empty the upper GI tract while deeply lubricating the lower GI tract before the sleep cycle takes over. The power of the 24-hour protocol lies in its seamless integration. It combines thermal solvents, mechanical posturing, dual fiber matrices, and strict circadian fasting into a single biological schedule. This split-screen diagram contrasts an optimized versus a neglected system. The inflamed left side is the endpoint of erratic habits and chemical accidents. The optimized right side demonstrates a highly modal tract, naturally starving pathologies like IBS by halting toxin generation at the source. This internal mechanical clearance manifests externally. The removal of chronic inflammation restores natural cellular energy levels and clears dermatological issues. If occasional deviations occur, the required response is a return to these structural protocols, not another trip to the pharmacy. The human gut is a highly responsive, continuous mechanical tube. Stop attempting to force it with chemical irritants and start calibrating it with precise biomechanical and dietary engineering.